Should we start over?
Yeah. Do you
Let's start
mind?
over.
I'm so sorry.
No, no, not at all, man. No, I got the whole afternoon. We can do this three
Oh,
times.
oh my God. So let's actually tell everybody. Let's tell everybody what happened.
Hey, everybody, my name is Alex.
Hey, Alex
Mac-
MacNicoll, how you doing, buddy? So me and
We're back.
Alex have just been talking for I don't even know for 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
realized that I forgot to hit record on the Zoom, so we are starting.
I think you hit record. I think Zoom might have unrecorded.
So we're starting all over. How you doing, Zach? Zach,
Good,
why did I call you
good,
Zach?
good.
How you doing, Alex? How are you, man?
No, I'd take Zach, Tyler, Steven, give any of those.
I'm
But
like,
yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah.
good. How's
But yeah, to recap what we were just talking about, yeah, I'm currently in New Jersey,
Yeah.
and I'm at home with my parents, and yeah, it's been fun, and yeah, man, yeah. So I've been we play piano, or we dabble, we played it maybe more at certain parts in our lives, but yeah, I'm trying to get it back right now. I'm taking lessons and learning how to play some Studio Ghibli music, like some theme songs and stuff at the moment.
Yeah, so Alex is currently in New Jersey with his parents. He got stuck there because of COVID. He was came out here for a bit and couldn't end up. You came out here because you were going to start shooting on season 2 of The Society.
Yes, yeah. Back in March, I came back home because we were set to shoot first week of April in Massachusetts for season 2 of The Society, and then and then lockdown and quarantine happened, and so I've been here ever since. So
cool, man.
yeah.
So yeah, we were talking about where you grew up. So you also grew up in that is your childhood home right there that you are in.
This is
Yeah.
all its glory. I got my Power Rangers poster.
Is that your actual bedroom? It's exactly the same.
This is it. That's my actual bed.
Well, look at this,
This
guys.
is
We get a special look
my
into his
TV.
childhood. Amazing.
Yeah. TV. I got. Let's see. I got Shaquille O'Neal back when he was at LSU. Duncan. Yeah. Yeah, man. This is it. This is. Yeah, it's funny being back, man. It was it's cool, but also yeah, it's just been great, man. It's like we've been decluttering, and we got a dumpster, and we ended up tossing a bunch of old raggedy stuff that was just needed to be thrown out, and then got a bunch of stuff ready to donate whenever things open back up fully. And yeah, it's been good, man. It's been really interesting kind of being back and living with my folks. And but yeah, but we were also talking about New York, and yeah, how I like we actually were living in a very similar place over in Greenpoint. We were over there, and yeah, it's beautiful, man, and I miss it. And I was actually planning on going there again after we finish season 2, but we'll see. Who knows? I've also been toying with the idea of trying out like Toronto or Vancouver or something.
That's where
There's
I grew
something
up.
about what's that?
That's where I grew up. I grew up in Vancouver.
You grew up in Toronto?
No,
Oh, Vancouver,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, Vancouver.
Yeah, Van City.
I love Toronto though. Toronto's super. Yeah, Van City's cool. I have an agent out in Vancouver, so I audition for a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, they shoot so much stuff out there, man. That's that's part of my the other positive of moving out there. Is what I'm thinking is it's a new market, and I just love being in a new city and like going down streets that I've never seen before in my life, and like every time you turn a corner, it's like that's the first time you're ever seeing it, and yeah, it's very exciting. And yeah, I've been to Kelowna. I've only been to the airport in Vancouver, but I've been out to Kelowna and BC, and it's beautiful out there. So.
Kelowna's super nice. Yeah, there's a bunch of little cities around there. There's a Soyuz, Penticton, and in the summers.
I've been there.
Yeah. Penticton's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And what is it, Kamloops?
Kamloops, yeah, it's like the Okanagan, they call it over there. And in the summer times when we were growing up, we go and like a bunch of us, we'd rent like a house, and then we go and just party the whole week or whatever. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, Lake Okanagan, man, it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
beautiful.
It's really nice over there. So now you're back over there. You're stuck over here, but you're going back to Boston to shoot once everything opens up. We were talking about when you thought things were going to open up, because so many people have been asking if anybody has any idea about a time frame. I think you're the best person to ask if anybody. What are you thinking? Do you think anything's going to happen soon with?
Yes. I'm glad you asked, because I am an expert on the industry. So No, I think, like we were saying, I think until there's, efficient, consistent, testing of readily available, I think that's when things will really start opening up. But like we were saying, I think New Zealand is actually pretty COVID free, and I think that they're going to go back to work pretty soon, and they're going to start shooting. But as far as New York and LA and the other big cities, yeah, I mean, like I had heard rumors about late August, but also again, this is, I think it's all just very hopeful, and this has kind of been a recurring thing. Is like everyone's like, all right, I think it's going to clear up. I think it's clearing up, and then all of a sudden, America goes back into like the hot zones and the spikes, and then everyone's like, well, we can't. Even if people are asymptomatic, which is unfortunate because I know, I mean, yeah, it's just until there's the testing in place where it'll just meet the whole union guidelines and everybody will feel more comfortable and safe. I don't think it'll open up again till that happens. So I'm being hopeful and thinking, September maybe.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But that's just also being hopeful. Yeah. So.
Well, I wanted to go back and talk about, it was interesting how you said you got into acting a little bit late. You went.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
It feels many moons ago. It feels like, we were kids.
But you were so you went to school for something else. You wanted to be a teacher, right?
Yes. Yeah. I went to school, started elementary education, and then I shadowed a teacher and realized that I didn't have the patience or the just the decency of a human to deal with kids every day and not bring in my own personal bullshit and be there to support them every day. And so I just I changed my major to sport management, which was something I was more familiar with growing up, was just sports and athletics and stuff. And then halfway through, I guess sophomore year, I was basically failing out. I was getting really bad grades, and I was just not going to class, not going to, not doing any homework, and just kind of hanging out and partying. And then I kind of realized, I was like, well, why am I accumulating all this debt if I don't, I'm going to get a job that I don't give a shit about, that I'm just going to hate, basically, that I'm going to be going through Monday through Friday, looking forward to those 2 days of the week. And can't wait till the weekend. And then once Monday comes around, oh, here we go, Monday. I was like, that sounds like it just sounds like a win to me. It felt like I was, I wanted to be in a career that I was excited about, that I really looked forward to, that there was no such thing as a weekend or a week, you know what I mean? That it all kind of blended together, and it was all just, just keeping me excited to be alive, and, So I thought about sports, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll do try to get into just athletics, professional sports. And that was a quick, no, because I'm 6'1" and skinny and just don't have the commitment or the discipline. So that was a quick no. And then at the time I was basically, I had an elective open, and a friend recommended that I take an acting class, just for fun, a beginner fundamentals of acting. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great, because I used to make student films in high school with some friends instead of doing book reports. So my English teacher, she would let me and some friends, for whatever book we were reading. We did the one on Grendel, I think was a big one, and Voltaire, and we reading some funny stuff. But I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I'll do that for fun. And that was the only class, other than maybe disc golf, which was also an elective, obviously, that I would look forward to, that I was excited to go, that I would work on outside of the classroom, and that I really paid attention and loved. And so, so then I decided that I was going to audition for the theater program. And if I got in, I would completely full on change my major and buckle down and focus, and however long it took, I would just, would just work hard. And, and also, I mean, is this very PG? Is this kind of say whatever?
You can say whatever, yeah.
Okay, cool. So also, not to say that I wouldn't have come to this realization without it, but this also happened. This basically happened over a night where I was tripping on mushrooms. My mind was just I was at this place in my life where, it was my first time doing shrooms, and I was I kind of just, it was nuts. A lot of crazy stuff happened, but all, for the best, obviously. And then I just, it was I had this realization, this moment where I was just kind of where I wanted to be I should get a job or a career in something that I love, like whether or not I make money is regardless, because I won't care if I'm making money if I'm happy, you know. And also like just something that I look forward to every day would just, that's satisfying to me, you know. And it doesn't feel like it's true, man. I mean, like people always told me growing up, it was like, you know, find something you enjoy, find something you love, and you never work a day in your life.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
like it's hard, it's sacrifice, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's really made all the difference, and it's true. And it's also never too late. I mean, I know so many people that shy away from, you know, pursuing a dream or pursuing something because they're like, it's too late, I'm too old, or I'm too this, I'm too that. And it's like you have no, like, there's no, like, why not? You know what I mean? There's no, it's like you have nothing to lose. You know?
Right. What's
Well,
stopping
some
you?
people are like, some people, I guess, like, oh, well, I have my benefits that I have, or my hard-earned pension, or whatever. It's like, or I have these things, and in my mind, it's like I don't know, you can't take it with you. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take anything with you. So it's like, why? I don't know. Like, for me, it's just kind of like, you know, do whatever makes you happy right now, like for the future, as long as it's not screwing anybody else over, and just have fun. And because like life is so short, man. And it's like, oh, I saved up all this money. That's the other thing too. Is like, speaking of Patsy. So Patsy said this thing that really kind of like took me back for a moment. But she was like,
we were speaking about Patsy Rodenberg before we found out that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Sorry, Patsy Rodenberg, amazing.
We found out that we were both trained with Patsy Rodenberg, and so he was telling us the story. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Patsy's awesome, man, and that was part of the reason why I moved to New York last year. Also, was because I wanted to study with Patsy. I wanted to train with Joan Lader, who's this amazing voice singing coach. Via my friend Eric Lieberman, who's a great Broadway. Yeah. Thought you got to repeat all the things that he said. But Broadway vet is just awesome human, and he hooked me up and introduced me to Joan. And my goal was to try to get on stage in New York last year, or to like at least be around it. So I was going to see a bunch of plays, as many as I could, and all the, you know, the ones that people were recommending, and studying with, you know, these living legends like Patsy and Joan, and then Larry Moss, who you train with, and like, he's been on my list, and I'm super like fortunate to be able to hopefully get in with him this next year. But you know, but yeah, I've like listened to his stuff and you know, read his books and everything. And but so going back to what Patsy said. So Patsy was like, she doesn't believe in inherited wealth. She thinks that every generation should basically, like, to even the playing field, so to speak, and to kind of create this kind of group, you know, consciousness or mentality where it's like, you know, like we're all, you know, like, you know, we're all on our own journey, but also no one's starting, you know, to the other people. And to kind of keep that, you know, work ethic, I guess, to an extent, you know, because there's a lot of people that if you don't have to work ever in your life, chances are, I mean, it's very few, I feel like, the people that are out there that actually have all this inherited wealth, that are hardworking and ethical and all these things. So, yeah, and I kind of agree with her. I mean, like, it's like when I die, all my savings and everything, or whatever, it's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what I would almost rather have that go into, you know, just the overall community or education or like to fund, you know, health benefits or just something, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I can't take it with me. And it's like, of course, I want my offspring to have a better opportunity. Of course, I want to have my loved ones or friends that were close to me. I want them to be more comfortable. But, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, it's for me, it's like, not to say that, like, I don't believe in savings. It's like, yeah, of course, like, you know, having money is obviously is huge in a capitalist society. It's like, it's very freeing and empowering. But it's like when I'm gone, it's the same thing with my organs, man. Like, I'm an organ donor. Like, I don't need them when I die. You know what I mean? Like, like, give it away. Like, the money, it's like money comes and goes. Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of agree with Patsy with that. I just think it would create more decent humans overall. I think it would create people with more empathy and more just more awareness and understanding that you know that you know that hard work is good and also just being understanding of each other and patient with each other, and you know, I just think it would just create a higher level of respect for one another in our society if there was no inherited wealth.
Yeah.
So
society. It's funny you said society. Let's use that.
Yeah.
So
segue.
Did you? Okay, so wait, hold on. So you finished. Let's say you finished grad school. right?
Regular undergrad. And well, just like, just
Undergrad,
gotta,
sorry, yeah. So you finished undergrad, and then what was the first?
yeah,
What
yep,
did you do
yeah.
at? What did you do after that? Did you go out and try to get an agent? Did you go train more? What was your process right after that?
Yeah. So we also, that was reminding me that we talked about the business aspect a little bit, how in school it's not really talked about a lot, except for when certain schools like where you went, they would bring in guest speakers in the industry and they would talk about it. We didn't really have that at my school at the sales. They might have it nowadays, but it was kind of early on. And what we did have was this great manager, Kyle Luker. He's a DeSales alum, but he at the time he was like, we need a showcase. We need something for the kids to connect them with the industry, to kind of build a bridge there. And Kyle had been working as a manager, and so basically he started the very first showcase was my senior year. And he brought in a couple great casting directors and agents and stuff, and managers and everything to for us to perform in front of. And that was over at Playwrights Horizons, which is an awesome little spot. Like we were talking about going to see shows. You ever seen a show over there? Yeah, you've seen.
Which one?
What's that? Playwrights Horizons.
Oh yeah, I know Playwrights Horizons. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great little stage. But anyway, so after my senior year, we had the opportunity to do a showcase. So I did a showcase, and then I had a couple meetings with a couple agents and I think like a casting director. No, I had an audition. I had an audition for the G.I. Joe movie, and this is back in like 2011. So this is like one of the first ones, and I just remember like pretending to shoot a gun and like doing this whole thing. There was like a 21 gun salute. Looking back, like it just had to have been awful, man. And like and I look, I mean, I'm 30 now, but I like when I shave, I look still pretty young. I look like high school, college age. So imagine how young I looked at like when I was like 21, and I'm auditioning to play like a GI.
Yeah.
And like this big soldier guy. I just remember doing it, and like fortunately Alexa Fogel, she recorrected me very early on in it, and I ended up being happy with my work and everything. Didn't get a call back, didn't get any of that, obviously. But at the time, rejection fucking is rejection,
Right.
And when like and I don't think, I mean, it's not to harp on rejection and negativity and stuff, but that's something that really it should be at least brought to attention and awareness, for people that are going into this business or people that are in school and graduating soon, because rejection is like 90% of it, just statistically. It's just like, just straight up. And so, it's just, and it's not even about like,
have you found that to be true for you?
Yeah. I mean, really? I just do it like numbers wise.
Yeah.
It's
numbers
like,
wise.
it's oh yeah, huge. It's like because I consider myself like, it's like, yeah, like I get to work all the time, so to speak, and like, I talk to other people or friends and I see other people, and it's like, wow, like I'm actually working a lot compared to this person, or what the difference is. And there's many different layers, whether it's like, opportunity or their work schedule. Say they have a job that they're just like, say I'm putting like 80% of my time towards the acting industry and 20% towards my other employment or something, but they're maybe putting 70 to 80% towards their other employment and 20% to the acting stuff. It's all different, right, for everybody. But if I were to write all the numbers down, it'd be really interesting, because I would bet, even being optimistic, I would say there's no way that I book like probably like less than 30% of the time. You know what I mean? It's like honestly, like numbers wise, it's like I've probably had, probably over like 500 auditions, if I'm being like realistic, from everything from student films, like when I just started, to, studio features and stuff. And if I think about all the stuff I've worked, like I can think about every single thing I've ever worked on, and it's probably less than 50 things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like the numbers wise, it's probably, it's like rejection is part of it. And half the time, as you know, it's not even about the actor. It's not even about what you're doing in the performance. It's like they go with somebody else that has a different look, or they go with somebody that just for some reason they all of a sudden they change the type that they want in the room or in the thing, because they see somebody that does something that they're like, that's it. And it was nothing like the breakdown. It was nothing like maybe me or you fit originally.
Mm-hmm.
So the rejection part is like, again, not to harp on it, but like that's just something that should be understood. and it also needs to get experience. It's like you can tell somebody all day long. It's like 90% of this game is like going to be no and rejection, but until you actually get there, get the no, or get that like feeling of like vulnerability, and like I put my heart out on the fucking floor, and like they didn't even give me a call back, or like I didn't even hear back at all, no feedback, no nothing. It's just like being rejected in like dating all the time. It's like and it's funny because now in my first I get these like rejected and stuff. I'm just like, like this is like I need to build up this like this muscle that I have when I have my acting phase, so to speak. I need to do this in my real life too. I need to not let it bother me so much when somebody else doesn't want to be with it. It's like, that's okay, let it go. You gotta let it go.
It still bothers me.
Of course, it bothers the shit out of me.
Especially when I know like that, like I'm just like, man, I gave so much to that tape. Or like, because now there's a lot of self-tapes on. Sometimes it's like, even my agent will look at it, like, I think this might be, and then it's like, no. And you're like, what?
And it can be anything, man. It can be like they got another tape right before you that just kind of like totally like took them in this other direction. Sometimes you're the tape where it's like, where you're like the gold standard, and then they go with that. But it's just, there's so many factors, and it's just, so it can be really disheartening, and I get that. Like that's why I think this business can kind of like just grind people down, and because it's like it's like we're putting it all out on a regular basis, and only a percentage of that return back. It's like
I think a lot of
it weighs on people, but
I think a lot of people give up before. That's why I think that's why I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think it might be why the percentage is so low. I think so many people, they try, and they'll be in like 10 years, and they're like, and they might be like, it might be the next part or whatever, the next thing or whatever, but then they're just like, I've already given 10, and it's understandable. You give 10 years of your life to something, and if it's not working out, it's like, how much more am I going to give?
Right.
So
and if your heart's not in it, your heart's not in it. Like that's like the biggest thing, I think. And especially with this pandemic like happening, like I think it's been opening up everybody's mind from all different industries and career paths. Like it's like, well, do I really love what I do? And like, and is it actually like beneficial to me and to society with what I do? And I think a lot of people are kind of questioning it and being like, man, this isn't worth it. Like the grind is like not worth the like what I'm getting from it, and I know a lot of friends that are actors, and like literally, man, like a close friend yesterday was kind of like, we were in a group text with some friends, and he was just like, hey guys, like I just want to like reach out and open up, like I'm kind of considering stepping away from acting, and like we're all just kind of like, we totally understand, because it's like it's a wonderful, incredible art and an incredible career if you enjoy it, right? But if you don't enjoy it, it's just like any other career. Then you got to find something that is inspiring and that keeps you fulfilled and just excited. And if acting ever isn't like that for me, I'm gonna not do it. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, it's just, And so I think this time is really interesting for a lot of people, and especially it's bringing up just this over analyzing of every aspect, I guess, of life in a lot of ways for people. And when it comes to the acting thing, it's like, I think a lot of people, especially but I think he's seeing all the bullshit sides of the business, and the bullshit vanity and the ego with like social media and keeping up appearances and having to be the face of the project. You know what I mean? So he might even hop behind the camera, and he might go back to film school and try to get, into directing and stuff like that. There's so many different layers to it. But I don't know, man. It's one of those things, like when you do a great self tape, like you're talking about, like when you really feel it and you're into it, and it was like, man, like sometimes that's enough to keep going. It's like that's almost definitely enough for me a lot of times. It's like I'm like, you know what? If they say no, or if they don't want me for that, I did everything I could, and I'm happy with it, and I know that it's not because of my performance. It's because somebody else is just more what they're looking for. Yeah, and that's what I have to bring to my dating life. That's what I have to like learn to like let go and to be like, look, it's got to be, there must be somebody else that they just, feel more towards, and I can't control that. Yeah. And that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you said, because I was talking to somebody, and I always said to them, as not just as actors, but as all artists, as we are progressing through paying our dues or whatever it is, I think what keeps me going or it keeps a lot of my friends going is during the time that things are going on, every once in a while, a little bit of encouragement comes through, and you ride that wave. Like I'll put up a scene and it'll be awesome in Larry's, and then
Yes.
it's like, and then everyone's like, dude, that fucking scene was amazing. This, and I'm just like, fucking right, man. I can do this. You know what I mean? I'm like, I do deserve to be here or whatever it is, and literally I will ride that wave for the next 6 months. Until I book something, and then that'll keep me, every time I book something, I'm like, okay, good. Because then it's like more encouragement or more time to, and I get to work, which you love to do. So yeah,
dude, it's compliments and encouragement is like I don't know what the statistics are if they've even broken it down to a complete science, but it's like, true, man. Like one positive comment almost like has the strength of like 10 negative comments or something. You know what I mean? It's like, it's true. And when you find good coaches that are constructive with their criticism or their analyzation but when at the same time they're also encouraging and give you that kind of room for growth that a lot of times we as an individual necessarily aren't maybe aware of or can see because we're so focused on like I'm analyzing like and critiquing everything that I do in my scene or whatever, or like if I'm watching myself on tape, versus somebody else coming in from that unbiased approach and being able to like point out the good things every now and then,
Right.
It's huge, man. It's invaluable. And it's funny because it does, like, time is a funny thing, man. Like, it's just so funny. It's like 10 years can almost feel like, 10 weeks or vice versa. 10 weeks can feel like 10 freaking years, and, so at the end of the day, it's just moment to moment, day to day. Like, do I enjoy this? Am I happy? Okay, let's
give it another
do
go.
it.
Yeah. Where did
maybe I'll start from it, and then by stepping away, with that.
No, I was gonna ask, where did your career take a turn? Like, where did it go and then start to go really, really well? Was it early? Was it very soon after you left school, or was it like years after you
No.
left school?
Yeah. Okay. No. So yeah, good. Yeah. Like honestly, okay. So going back to when I had that GI Joe audition that I bombed, afterwards I met with a couple of agents and managers, and I was like under the impression I was like I need to impress them. I need to like whatever they want, I'm here to give. So like they were like, I wasn't living in New York at the time. I was living back home in New Jersey, but they were like, oh, do you live here in New York? And I was just like, oh, like, yeah, like I'm ready to move whenever, you know what I mean? Like I'll get on that, I'll get on that apartment hunt right away. Just let me know when. You just tell me. And it's actually, people are more looking for, sincerity and authenticity, and it literally, like, there's so many parallels to dating, like with the industry, and because it's stories and humanity and relationship, right? That's like all these things, and So right after I graduated, after that showcase, I had a couple meetings, and I was like, this is easy. I was like, this is cake. I have an audition already for a freaking studio film. I have meetings with agents. Like, this is great. It's, you know what I mean? This is going to be easy. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And like life is going to be good. So for 3 months, I moved to a friend's couch, in like northern Jersey, like right on the river, in West New York, New Jersey. And I would just, I remember I wrote down every single casting director in like a little binder. And I made up, I ordered like headshots, and I ordered these postcards and like business cards, and I got these manila envelopes, and I put like a cover letter in, and I literally filled out all these things, and I was going to go drop them off to all these different casting directors' offices. And I ended up doing it to like a handful of them. And I didn't hear anything back from like, 5 or 6 of them. And I just I took that rejection kind of personally.
Yeah.
Not kind of, I took that very personally. And I almost was like, oh, I don't know, what am I doing? Am I like? And then I started questioning myself, and I was like, I was like, I'm a fraud. I was like, I don't deserve to do this. You know what I mean? I'm terrible. Like all these things, and like so every day I would try to make myself more marketable. So to me, that was like I was going to work out every day. So I would work out in my friend's living room. They would go off to work. I'd work out. I'd recite a monologue or two or a sonnet and stuff like that. And like then I would feel kind of like accomplished. Right. And then that was it. And then I'd and then I'd kind of relax and stuff, and I'd wait for the phone to ring, so to speak. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I went on Backstage, I made a profile thinking that producers and people that are kind of casting these projects go on there and they search for people and pick people that look like them and send them to the submission. I didn't know I was the one that had to submit myself,
Yeah.
This is stuff that would have been great to learn and to know.
Yeah.
And then so I remember this is like ridiculous, man. I look back and I crack up thinking about it. Kyle Luker, who I was telling you about, the alumni, who's manager and friend, and I met with him. He was like, he was telling me, he's like, look, man, it's tough, just keep at it, keep staying, like on point and keep your craft up and just keep trying to keep focusing. And then he was like, oh man, he's like, do you have a job right now? And I was like, oh no, not really. I'm just kind of living on my buddy's couch and kind of commuting into the city and getting a feel for New York and everything. And he was like, my buddy's opening up a bar, like Lower East Side or something like that, or in Manhattan. And he's like, I'd probably get you a job bar backing, like, or busting tables and stuff like that. And then this is what I said. I was like, oh, thanks, man. But like, I'm just gonna act. I'm an actor. I don't want bartend. So I was like, I'm just gonna be an actor. And it's just kind of like, okay, like, all right, like, And then sure enough, a month or two later, I was back home in New Jersey on my parents, like, living in my childhood room, like, because dude, that's like something that you don't learn necessarily until you're actually on the ground doing it. Like, the first year, so you're asking about where I saw my career take a turn. So I went back and I lived at home for about a year, almost, basically, and just working at my local bar here in my hometown, saving up money. And just kind of like, I was burnt out almost. Cause like college was was a lot of work or whatever, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's like, I just was kind of burnt out on the rejection part of it and, kind of, taking it back, it's like I kind of just felt kind of beat. And, so while I was back home, I started getting that bug again, and missing it. And I think that's something that's great about it too, is like, we might, go hard and try to, like, book these jobs and not get anything. And then, so we step back a little bit and we're like, I'm a little burnt out, I'll take a week off, or I'll take, however long. But then during that time, it's like we miss it, it's like we miss that kind of excitement and just the possibility just to play and to create. And so I missed it. So I saved up and I said to myself, I was like, all right, I'm going to try to move to California this time. Right. I was like, I'm going to try LA, because worst case scenario, if I fall on my face out there, I just move home and I'm back home, because New York's an hour and a half away. And then in California, saying like, oh, we film TV film out there in LA. And that was something that was exciting to me. I was like, oh, there's more money in that. I looked very young, so I was like, I saw all these shows with all these people that are, in their 30s playing high school and stuff. I was like, I can do that. Yeah. And so, yeah, man. So I saved up for about a year, and then I had this great boss at the Frenchtown Inn back home, Colleen, and she would whoop my ass, man. And I was like bartending and busting tables and serving, and she kind of kicked this work ethic into me that was like, show up to work. Like, not only show up, like, to work, like just to be there, but you're there to work, like show up to work. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, that's great. So like, I kind of started putting that into my work ethic. And so during that time when I was back home here in New Jersey, back in like 2012, 2013-ish, I was kind of working up to that. And every day I would go for a run and I'd be like listening to motivational speeches on YouTube and all these like, these just motivational talks and lectures and working out and everything. And I was like, all right, I got to kind of like, another thing about the business is like, nobody really taught me, but it was like, you got to kind of fit certain types when you're trying to get your foot in the door. And so for me, it was like a high school job, basically. Mm. So I was kind of like, it's like, no matter how bad I want to be James Bond or Jason Bourne or some shit, you know what I mean? I have to like be a high school football player or whatever. So I was just working out, trying to stay healthy, and I stopped smoking and drinking, just because I just didn't really necessarily enjoy it, but also because like I was like, I have to look as young as possible. Right. So I didn't do any of that. I also, I was like, all right, I got to figure out how to make myself marketable. So I was like, I got to make sure I'm on point with all my sports stuff. I'll learn some guitar, something that I can put on my resume, something that might help me get cast. Firearms training, stage combat, all those things. And then like kind of February rolled around the next year, and my boss was basically like, look, if you don't like book to like fly out of here and get the hell out of here, like I'm going to fire you. And part of it was because she was this great, motivator, but also part of it was probably because I was a shit bartender, she was like, I need to get somebody fucking doing here anyway. So she kicked me out, man. She gave me a date to get out of there by. So I booked my flight and I flew out, and I moved out basically with like $2,000, I think, or something saved up, and then I got a credit card that had like another $1,500 available or something. And so I hit LA with that, And yeah, right when I hit the ground running, man, I was kind of like, I didn't want what happened right after I graduated to happen again. So now I had kind of more of an understanding of the business, and that I needed to take, control of everything, so to speak. Like we have to be our own manager, our own agent, our own cheerleader, our own therapist, all that stuff. And yeah, man, it was kind of hitting the ground running. I got into improv classes. I was working out. I was doing taekwondo. I was doing, like anything that would improve basically my chances of being. I was on like Casting Frontier, Actors Access, any website.
Yeah.
All my money went to those things because I realized, and I don't know if I'm sure it still is like this too, but when you're starting out and you get on these casting websites, I submitted for probably like 20, 50 things almost a day. You know what I mean? I was like, I was just on my emails constantly, and I wasn't hearing anything back. I wasn't even getting a single audition. And then I was like, I was like, my headshots are pretty good. Like, I thought they were okay. I know my resume is not great, but I was like, at least there's things on there, and I'm putting in the notes. I'm like personalizing the notes. Like, even I was like kind of even like faking it. Like, I was like varsity football and whatever, blah blah blah, all this shit. And like, I wasn't hearing anything back. And then I realized that if you're not paying for a premium membership on these sites, half the time you're not even getting seen. Because there's like 500 people that might have this premium membership or have a demo reel up, so they're at the top of the pile. That if I'm the casting director, if I'm the director, and I'm looking through all these things, I might look down at 500 people of those first ones that they kind of put in that pool. So I was like, and of course that's how they make these websites, right?
Yeah.
But it's for the game, It's like so I did is I got a premium membership and all those. I made sure to put up if it asked for a demo reel that would like kind of make my chances like being in the top tier of the profiles that would be seen first. I put up a demo reel. I put up extra headshots, and it was all all my money was going to that. It was like the loneliest year of my life, man. Like I wasn't going out, I wasn't socializing. Like I only knew a couple people when I first moved out there. It was just very just grind, and then so long story longer. Like so, when I saw a noticeable change was I was booking some student films after that because then I was finally because in my mind I don't think I was even getting seen when I didn't have a premium membership. I think I was submitting and it was just never even being looked at. And I booked a couple student films, and then I got like this weird like shady meeting with a manager who was casting a feature film, but he was a writer, but he was like, I'm also starting a management company, and I was like, oh, all right, and he was like, we're interested with you, and I was like, oh, all right. And I was like, well, I don't have a manager. And he's like, yeah, so we take like 15%. And like, he's like, I also teach acting classes. They're $500 a month. And I was like, this sounds like shady, man. This is like a red flag. And I was like, no, you know what? I'm not interested. And he was like, well, keep in touch. He was like, you can come be a reader for me, for my other students. And I was like, all right, whatever. Anything. My other thing too, when I first moved to LA, when I was starting out, was like, I want to load up my plate, and then I want to be able to like take things off to when I want to add things on. I don't want to wait and be like, oh, I'm going to hold off on this because of the possibility of something else coming in. Right. Like whenever somebody was like, hey, I need a reader for a self-tape, I was like, I'll do it. Let me help you out. Whenever somebody was like, hey, we're doing a play reading at my house next week, like, do you want to do it? I was like, let's do it. Fuck it. Whenever like this guy who's this manager was like, hey, I could use a reader for my clients. I was like, fuck yeah. Like anything to improve, anything to kind of improve and to grow, any acting class that people recommended. Whenever I had the money, I was taking them just to like meet people and improve my craft as I went along. And then so I was this guy's like reader for his clients. And after a while, after a couple of times, he was like, all right, you don't need to take classes with me, but I recommend you keep taking them with another teacher. I was like, that sounds more legit than me paying this fucking manager $500 a month.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're still interested in repping you. And I was like, all right, well, 15% sounds really high, but 15% of nothing is still nothing. So I was like, at least if he gets me auditions, then it's worth it.
Right.
And sure enough, the first couple auditions were for like Tattoo Nightmares and like these recreation shows, like Killer Kids, like crime recreation.
I did
one.
I did one.
Me too.
I did 1,000. I was on 1,000 Ways to Die.
1,000 Ways to Die. Yeah.
I was on that show. That was the first thing I ever booked.
Yeah, man. And it's like,
so
it's
funny.
just part of it, dude. It's just part of it, It's like kind of like, showing up. My dad has this like saying that he told me back in the day. He was like, you can't be a cowboy unless you hang around the barn. And so like part of it's just being in the city, doing just work, you know, get a student film recreation show, do whatever, you know what I mean? Just kind of get your feet wet, you know, and just kind of start doing stuff. And, but then sure enough, then they started getting me like legitimate auditions, and he got me an audition for McFarland USA, which was a Disney movie. And it was just a small part right in the beginning, but it was like, again, it was a high school football player. So basically I felt like I had been training my whole year prior to that role, you know?
Yeah.
And I just went in and so, you know, we were talking about type before, or business, I guess we were talking about. And, the role said like 6'4", blonde hair, you know, whatever, like meat and just this huge corn-fed dude. And I was, you know, I'm like 6'1", like 165 or whatever, and like, you know, not really those things, but kind of. It was more the essence of the character, you know, like we were talking about. Maybe somebody shows up and just gives them something that they're like, this is it, we want that.
Right.
And so I showed up, and there's all these dudes who look like Thor and like, you know, one of the Hemsworth brothers, and I'm just like, oh, fuck it, I guess I'm just gonna try it.
Right.
And just do whatever. And I actually ended up booking that, and then so that was when my career changed, because then I had a legitimate credit, so to speak, legitimate, like it was a studio feature. I had to act with like Kevin Costner for a quick scene, and the dude
nice.
who's like the voice of Phineas and Ferb or something like that. This guy Vincent Martella or something, and yeah, man, and it was great. And it was Nicky Caro was the director, and so after that, then I got a meeting with an agency, the Osbrink agency, and so then that kind of was like, it's very non-linear, you know what I mean? Like as you know, like we were just talking about, you might go like 10 months without something, and then you get something, and it's like a guest star, and then it's like boom, it's like, all right, great. So that was kind of how this felt, man. My whole first year when I was in LA, from like February to November, I didn't have anything necessarily on paper, but every day from February to November, I was working my butt off, whether it was in a student film, or whether it was going to the gym at 8 in the morning, or whether it was going to a Taekwondo or improv class, or, you know, doing like a tiny black box theater show, you know. I was doing a bunch of stuff, so it wasn't necessarily like legitimate by the industry standards. However, I put all that work in that first year, and then finally the one thing, like this little 2-line, 3-line thing in a movie I got, and that kind of opened it up to another, like a little snowball action with an agency, and then they were getting me more auditions, and then it became a numbers game. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, you know, if I get 5 auditions, I have a higher chance of maybe booking one of those. Right. If I only get one audition, it's like, chances are I'm probably not going to get it. So so then I got more auditions, and then I booked a couple things. There's like, you know, a co-star here, a guest star there, all these things. And I did like, I remember one of the like first things I got myself was like a background gig on Modern Family, and it was like, I was like, this is awesome. I was like, I don't care if it's background. Like I just would love to be on the set of Modern Family. And they were looking for a Scottish Chippendales dancer, basically, in a group called Guilty Pleasures.
I don't think I saw this.
Yeah, it's a Las Vegas episode. It's like they all go to Las Vegas, and there was something in the notes of this audition on LA Casting that, you know, you might be able to make extra money with a winky face. And I was thinking we were going to be like stripping, and the cast was going to be like putting dollars in our kilts or something. But what ended up happening is they had a choreographer there, Mandy Moore, who went on to choreograph like La La Land and all these things. Zoe's Extraordinary Play, like she's huge. Yeah. And this is like, you know, years prior, but so she had this choreographer, and then these like lifetime background people, I like to call them, like that were with me, that were in this group. They like knew the ins and outs, all the union guidelines and shit. They were like, "Oh, we're over on time."
I was one of those guys in Vancouver. I as a kid, like when I was like 17, I got into background work or whatever, and I worked all the time. Like I worked 5 days a week. I was on the pilot of Smallville, and then I worked Smallville for like a couple of years. I was on that show like as a background worker.
Right? Isn't it like $300 a day, or like?
Yeah, you become union. You get paid a lot, and then after 8 hours, it's time and a half. After 12 hours, it's double time. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. And so a couple of these guys were like, they knew everything. They were like, "Oh, we're going over, boys," and I was just kind of like, "Okay, yeah, I don't know what that means, but all right." And then not only that, they were like, "Dude," they're like, "There's a choreographer here," and they're like, "This means we're going to be a dancer rate. Like they're going to have to give us a new contract." So they basically like argued to get a new contract. So we all got signed on as dancers, like special rates. So we went up from like $150 for 8 to like $2,300. You know what I mean, for just the day. Cow. You know what I mean, or whatever it was. And not only that, we were on the credits and shit, and like I still get residuals to this day, even though it's like $35 or something like that. Still getting it. So it's like it was amazing. It was very lucky, man. But
And I mean, I don't know. I've had a lot of that in my life, like these little like fun, lucky opportunities, and I don't know, man. Those things are kind of like it's hard to explain when those things happen,
Hmm.
other than like because I know a lot of people that just work their butt off and maybe don't get certain opportunities. But I also I see it with other people too, and I think part of it is just if you're kind, you work hard and you show up and you just kind of are encouraging and support. Like just I don't know karma, man. Like I stopped believing in coincidences like a long time ago. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I
I kind of
totally
like was
agree with
like
you.
oh,
I think
yeah
if you're a good person, you work hard and you do the right things and what you're supposed to do, and especially if
yeah
as an actor, if you stay ready, if you're constantly training, if you're ready, if you're
exactly
doing everything you need to do, at some point, the stars will align. That's how I used to,
yeah
I like to say that in order to book a big part, I feel like all the stars have to be aligned for you. It's
yeah
hard to book a
yeah
part through an audition. Like you literally have to go. You have to go in. They have to like you. You
yeah
have to be all of the all of the visual, like you have to look the part. Like
yeah.
I just recently, one of the tapes that I did that I said I thought was amazing, casting said we loved his tape, we loved him, but we just casted the daughter and there's no resemblance between them.
Look like it. That happens all the time, dude. Yeah, it
And I'm
happens
just
all the
like,
time.
so all of these things have to be, so
Yeah,
you have to look the part, almost to a T. They have to go in and like you. You have to have a good energy when you go into the room. And then you have to nail the audition, and maybe even not just nail the audition, but do something that makes you stick out than everybody else.
yeah,
And to be under
exactly.
all that kind of pressure in a room, it's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of practice, and it also takes a lot of experience and professionalism to go in there and just be calm and just go do your
Yeah,
thing and then forget about it after. I always tell people, and I never take my own advice. Like I have all the answers, I like to think, when it comes to acting stuff, but I never take my own advice. My friend will call me
yeah,
like, oh, that audition blew or whatever, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, man, you got to forget about these auditions, dude. After you do them, it's done. You got to go on. Meanwhile, I will kill myself for like a week after an audition. So I never take my own
yeah,
advice.
yeah. You're like, well, this is it. This is the night. This is the one. This is,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. You're sitting in traffic or sitting on the subway. You're like, yep, I'm gonna end it tonight. Tonight's
Yeah.
the night. Yeah, yeah, this is it.
Yeah. So out of
Yeah.
your, so you've been on three really big shows, and you are on one. Is 13 Reasons Why, is that still on?
No, this was the last season. They just finished it. Yeah, yeah. They just ended the series this past season that just came out. So
It
they're
just ended.
done.
Okay, but then so you did that, and then you did Transparent, which was a huge show.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, dude, that was one of the most amazing sets. Like I got spoiled early because that was somewhat early, so to speak. Like I was, one of the first things I worked on, and that set's like no other. Man, there's like I've never seen a set so connected on every level, like from the PAs and to like the people at the office, all the way up to the directors and the producers. Like there's just so much love and just kindness and just cohesiveness, man. It's smooth. It's smooth and like there's no, we were just talking about time.
Mm-hmm.
Time is different on that set, man. Like we show up and Jill, well Joey now has like this thing where anyone can like at the start of every day, it's a big meeting with every single department there. Like the first thing that's told is this is a safe place. Don't worry about you're not going to lose your job. Work hard, but obviously don't get hurt. Don't sacrifice certain things. Don't worry about time. Okay, we have all the time in the world. Don't worry about messing up for everybody and on any part of the crew. And then they're like, if anybody has anything they want to get off their chest or say right now, this is your opportunity. Like so, like we have this big circle basically, and someone can get up in front of everybody and be like, hey, I just want to say like I'm super excited for today and I'm thankful to be here. It can be something like that, or somebody might get up and be like, hey everybody, like I got some bad news. Like yesterday, my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. You know what I mean? Like anything,
Right.
and it just creates this space where everyone is so connected at like from their heart, where we're all just like supporting each other and everyone's just like there for each other for the greater good. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it takes the ego out of it, and it's amazing. And so that was one of my first sets to be on, and so after that I was like I love this career. Like, it's amazing. And every set's like that. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's like, unfortunately, that kind of spoiled me because then it's like, not that I've been on nightmare sets, but
Yeah.
there's been a couple times where I was just like, oh, this is terrible. This isn't fun. This is bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, Transparent was awesome, man. And that was another time when my career kind of changed a bit for sure. Yeah, because that opened up and like it was very critically acclaimed, and even though I had a small part on it, it was just to be able to like to ride on the coattails with everybody, like, and just kind of be around those people.
Mm-hmm.
It just was awesome. Yeah.
Well, I have a question. So when something like that happens, what does the change in your career kind of look like? Like,
Yeah.
does the phone start ringing more? Does your agent start getting more? Like, I always wondered, like, is it kind of like or is it something like, okay, you're on a part now, your agent has to, or your team has to go out there and work harder now, or you know, just take what you've done and approach other things, or how does that work? Is it does it just happen on its own, or is it like a teamwork sort of thing?
It's a little bit of all that. It's like. Yeah, no, it's interesting. So one thing that happens as far as the phone ringing, it's like, so if it's a critically acclaimed show or somebody spots you in something, and it doesn't even have to be a show. It can be a play, any of this stuff. You know, these casting directors, they go to plays, they see this stuff. I've had friends who they did a play and like a casting director saw them and then like would bring them would bring them in from parts. You know what I mean? It's like their agent wasn't even submitting them necessarily. But they're all of a sudden their phone starts ringing, you know, being like, hey, we'd love to see this person, so and so. So for me, it was kind of like the one thing that was noticeable a change was I got a couple of general meetings with like casting directors that were the ones that initiated the thing. They were fans of the show, and they were like, yeah, we would love to sit down and talk to them. And part of me was like, it's funny that I had this one meeting with this awesome casting director, like I think David Rubin or David Rudin. I forget. I think it's Rubin because there's Scott Rudin in New York, but David. And he brought me in for a general like, and I was like, this is awesome, this is cool. But then we just talked about Transparent really, and I think he just was such a fan of the show. He wanted to know where it was going, and he wanted to know like different things about the arcs and stuff like that. So then afterwards, I left, and I was like, I don't know if he's interested in casting me, and I think he just literally wanted to talk about what it's like, you know, working with a couple of those people and like what they're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe sometimes that's like them wanting to know what this person's like to work with, which is another reason why to be kind to people and to work hard, because you're leaving an impression on every single day, every single time you're talking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a dick, like nowadays, especially like with how everything is, like, it's like, there's no time for that shit. You know, people are sick of it. You know, nobody wants to work with people that are assholes or that are divas, you know, it's really, it's getting to that point. So that's one thing.
I had a rough experience on one of the last things I did, but I don't know if I should talk about it because I'm like,
why not, man? I mean,
I think what happened was it was like I think it was kind of like a misunderstanding. Really, what happened was I got a part on so I booked a part on Law and Order SVU, and so I show up and my scene is with Mariska Hargitay and Ice-T. And so anyway, I'm in my room and whatever, just prepping, doing, you know, whatever. I'm just going over lines, whatever. And somebody comes and gets me and says, "Okay, come on set. We're just gonna do a read through, and then we'll call you when we're ready." So I'm like, cool. So I go on the set, and everybody's there. The whole cast, everybody that's in the episode is there. I was the only day player that day. There was nobody else. It was just a whole main set, main cast, and then just me. So I get there, I say hi to everybody, but Mariska hadn't come onto the set yet. So she shows up like a little bit after that we were standing there for a couple of minutes, and then she comes and she introduces herself. She was very nice. She says, "Hi, I'm Mariska." And then I'm very timid, like around people that I don't know very well, you know, and I'm just like on this big set and whatever, all this kind of stuff. And, you know, it's such a huge show in New York. And so when she says, "Hi, Mariska," I say, "Hi, Murshad." And I put out my hand. Now, I said it a little lightly. Now, I think because she made a face afterwards, she was just like, okay. And I was like, what was that? Why did she do that? And I realized that she thought, I think she thought that I just said her name back to her. And she said, "Hi, Mariska," because our names can kind of sound similar. So she said, hi, Mariska. And I think she thought I said, "Hi, Mariska," back and didn't give her my name. Because she went like this after and was like, okay. And then I was like, for a second, I was like, what happened? What did I do? Did something happen? I don't know what I did. But I now that I'm thinking about it, I think that might be because I was a little quiet when I said my name.
Sure.
Anyway,
There's a
so
miscommunication.
yeah,
There's a common like a human thing.
oh, that's just the beginning of it. So later in the scene, we're doing the scene, and then so my scene starts off with Ice-T, and then he goes and gets Mariska, and she comes in, and we have a little thing. I played this cab driver that was one of the last people to see this woman or whatever.
Classic.
So yeah, exactly. So we're doing the scene, and then we do a few takes. The director comes and says, "Murshad, listen, look, let her have it a bit. You know, you've missed work. You're missing work for this. You just told Ice everything that happened. Now you got to repeat everything to her. So let her have it." I was like, all right, I'm gonna let her have it. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm gonna do what the director wants me to do. So she comes in, and I fucking let her have it. You know, and when I did, she dropped her line, and she wasn't happy about it. She was
embarrassed.
I don't know, maybe embarrassed. I don't know what it was, but she was a little taken aback, and she kind of dropped her line, and she wasn't happy about it. So that happened to there, and then the director comes to me like after a couple takes or whatever. I think she maybe went and said something to him or whatever, and he comes. He's like, "Look, I want you to give it to her, but she's still a cop, so you can't really go that far or whatever." So I pulled it back a bit, and it was fine, I think. And then anyway, so that was the second thing that happened that day. Later in the day, we're doing pickups from another angle or whatever. We had broken for lunch, I think it was after, and so I come back on set. She's not on set yet. They come to me and they say, "We're going to start on your line." I say, "Cool." Mariska comes on set after they tell me that. So I don't know if she knew that we were starting on my line. Maybe maybe somebody told her that we were starting on hers. I don't know. But they had three different people told me we were starting on my line. So I was like, cool. They yell action. We both talk at the same time.
Ooh.
And now she's just fed up, right?
She's like, fuck this guy.
Now she's like, "I thought we were starting on my line. We said we were starting on my line." And she was like mad. Now, at this point, I'm fucking nervous. And I'm just like, oh, great. I'm fucking up. I'm messing this whole thing up. The star of the show is pissed off, and she was mad. And so then we were going again, like really quick. And I didn't hear them yell cut. I thought we were still rolling. And so me and her are standing there, and then we're going to start on my line now. And, and I say my line, and then she goes like this. She's like, "You might want to wait till they say rolling."
Ooh, yeah, dude. People, dude, it's like it's such a bizarre environment, you know what I mean? Because it's like there's so much ego.
I got cut out of the episode.
No.
Yeah, I was cut out of the episode.
Oh man. I
don't know if I don't know if it had anything to do with her. Maybe they didn't. They told my agent it had nothing to. They said that the episode ran long or something. That's what they told my agent.
That's the other thing. It's a perfect thing to talk about too, man.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the amount of times I've been cut out of stuff. Like, I've been cut out of probably like 4 or 5 things. And speaking of the Modern Family thing before, another lesson I learned was like I told everybody. I was like on Facebook. I was on whatever.
I told everybody about Law and Order. Yep. Everybody.
Yep. I was like, tune in. You get to see somebody like a familiar face, whatever, blah blah blah. Because I was so proud.
Yeah.
Hard work, and I was like, I got to be on this, and now my friends can see it, and I told everybody, and then like my friends would hit me up after, and they're like, "Are you sure it's this week? Like, you sure it was like this show is this show?" And I was just like, "Oh no," you know what I mean? I was like, "Fuck!" So then I looked it up, and like I realized like you can see like the quarter of my head from one of the shots in the scene, and it's like, so yeah, so
they told me they told my agent a week before the episode aired, but it was but I had already told everybody. Like I already told so many people. Yeah, that
that's embarrassing.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, dude, that's part of it, man. Like the editing room is real, man. Like that thing is it's unforgiving and it's merciless, and it's like it doesn't discriminate, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, you can crush it. You probably did a great job. You know what I mean? Like, you probably did a great job. And then it just didn't make it in. You know, people can give these great little performances or big performances, and like half the time it just makes the final cut.
Yeah, but I just thought it was so crazy how like such a small thing from like the beginning of the day, and then just terrible circumstance all throughout the day. But I was like, it happens, That's another part of it.
The human part of it. Yeah, I mean, people are having a rough day. That's why I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, also, because I've even been annoyed and shit. You know what I mean? Like, and I consider myself. I try to be polite. I try to be pretty even keeled and everything. But yeah, man, like people are people. Like people, you never know what's going on in their personal life. I remember I did an episode of Criminal Minds, and one of the lead people on that in the scene that I was in was like kind of freaking out and just not being very sociable and like not really, which is like, all right, like, you know, like it's not like I'm entitled to them to come talk to me after every scene or after every take, but it was just, they were kind of just cold and on their phone and kind of like angry. And then I found out afterwards that like she had gotten hacked. Like, you know what I mean? So the whole time she's shooting, the whole time we're shooting, in between takes, she's like calling all of her friends and members being like, my phone's been hacked, this stuff is jeopardized, like whether it's bank accounts or whether it's personal information, any of that stuff. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh my God, this whole time I just thought that person was like kind of a dick. But no, they're like going through this terrible thing in their personal life. So you never know what anybody's going through, man. And like, you know, people, everyone's human. So
all of the shows that you've been a part of are pretty, like they have like a political message. There was, and it's so funny because they're all very relevant with everything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Did it make you open your eyes? I mean, I don't know, the bullying stuff with sorry, what was the name of the show again?
13 Reasons.
13 Reasons. Trans, the trans topic on Transparent and everything, and then if things don't change, we might have to start our own society here. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, shit, man.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, how does it? As an actor, you obviously you work on these characters. You embody yourself with them. You go through all of this, the things that you endow yourself with all the circumstances that everything is going through. I mean, it's funny because art imitates life and all that kind of stuff.
100%.
I don't know. How does it make you feel about all that kind of stuff? We're seeing a lot of the trans stuff pop up, even now with the Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter with the trans stuff is they're kind of joining forces at the same time. And then even with the bullying stuff, like even online, and suicides. I don't know. I want to know what your take on it was. Having being part of shows that are kind of politically driven and being in the climate that we are right now. Yeah.
Well, dude, like, so, going back to what we were talking about before, like coincidences and not like, it's kind of like, it seems like a little bit of an excuse. You know what I mean? It's like there's usually like, I don't know, like art imitates life. Like everything's connected. Mm-hmm. I feel like,
Yeah.
Like, I feel like every single thing is connected. It's like, people say like, try to keep a positive attitude or be optimistic, because it's like, chances are, like what's that one great quote? It's like the person who says they can and the person who says they can't are both usually right. So it's kind of like, what do you like? Is the glass half full or is the glass half empty?
Yeah.
It's like the same shit. You know what I mean? My mom would always say like 6 of one and a half dozen of the other. It's like, so you can look at it either way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a great teacher too, this guy Jamie Walrap, who had he would say like, fear is the same response in the body as excitement. Same exact like physical response, fear and excitement, but one is like positive and exciting and one is like scary and like nervous, but they're the same like jittery, like, so it's just like, how do you want to perceive it? Because it's all our perception. We're all in this together. This is all a shared experience, but we're all having our unique experience. So speaking about these shows, and what's funny is like, when I was in college, when I became a theater major, I ended up going down this really dark, like conspiracy theory hole, man. I was like, got into all the 9/11 stuff, all that Zeitgeist movie and all these things. And not to say that there wasn't some crazy shit happening, you know what I mean? Not to say like, dude, there was a lot of messed up shit happening, with like the Iraq war and all these things, and like all these things that were covered up, that in the age of information that started coming out a lot sooner than it has in the past. Usually in the past it was like 10 years after, say Nixon or Reagan or something, that it would come out and people would be like, oh, that's fucked up. You know what I mean? But now it was kind of like a year or two after, or like, a few years after. And now it's like a daily thing. Right. It's like shit happens, like Trump does something corrupt and it's like, we know like within an hour, and we're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? Like this is bullshit. Yeah. So anyway, when I was in college, I was like, I got really into these conspiracy theories and, not crazy down the line of like, and again, I mean, who the fuck do I know? But like, like the Liz bastard people, like the politicians, like all these like guys. Not to get all into that. I never like fully dove into that, but a lot of the really corrupt political stuff. And so I was like, man, what's the best way to affect change? And I do believe that it all starts within. You know, it's like be the change you want to be. You know, Gandhi. It's like start within, right? But then my other thing was like celebrity culture is so huge in America and on a global thing as well. But in America, and like, so if I can have a platform or a voice, you know, if I can like express myself and just my personal thoughts and just try to put that out there, like that, that's a huge pro for me of part of this business. And it's funny because then these shows I've worked on, like you said, like a lot of them have political themes, or they have like these themes where, you know, it's like these issues or these, you know, these things with our society. And like, and I think that part of it is, you know, just because people are creating this content and there's more and more out of there, but also I think wanted, you know what I mean? Like that's what I wanted to do when I was, you know, like younger, when I was like getting into this. I was like, I want to like have this platform. I want to do work that feels substantial, that feels relevant, that like changes somebody's life, you know,
right.
That inspires somebody, or you know, vice versa. Yeah. So yeah, man, I've been fortunate and I've been able to work on these shows, but I do really like, I don't chalk it up to coincidence. A lot of times I do chalk it up to this kind of
The universe,
energetical, like whatever we're putting out, we're kind of in a way getting back to an extent, you know? Yeah, like I always thought of like this, like, you know, it's like, oh, I want a red ball. I want a red ball. I want a red ball. Like I would love to have a red ball. And then like all of a sudden, like I'm walking down the street and I see like a blue, triangle. And like I could just be like, oh yeah, no, that's not a red ball. I really want a red ball. I really want a red ball. But no, instead I'm like, oh, well, it's not red and it's not a ball, but it is a color and it is a shape. Like I'm gonna check this out. And then like, you know, going towards that,
right.
And then all of a sudden like just things open up and these things come, and I like really weird metaphorical thing to talk about, but you know what I mean? Like, It's like life is always presenting opportunities to us. Life is like, there's always these things happening, going on. It's just being open to maybe it's not exactly what I wanted to perceive, but maybe there's something there, and you know, just being open to it. And then these opportunities come into our lives, and it's like so fulfilling. At least in my experience, I'm like, wow, like I got to work on a show that like I was literally like, this is something I want to get involved in. This is something that I am adamant about. And now I get to work.
It's good it's good when your art and, you know, your personal morals and ethics can kind of come together. It even makes everything more fulfilling, it seems like.
Totally, man. Yeah. And again, it intertwines. It makes it to the point where it's like, it's not work. You know what I mean? It's like I'm getting paid to live my life, you know?
Great, yeah.
And it's amazing.
Well, I appreciate you giving us so much of your time. Thank you so much. I really had a great time, and hopefully you come back, talk to us soon when you do some more stuff. We'll talk soon.